Hey everyone, it's Steven with Electrek, and today we're reviewing the ZonDoo RoadHitter. Behind me is probably one of the fastest electric scooters out there right now. This thing is a ZonDoo, has 72 volts, 8,000 watts, spread throughout two 4,000 watt motors, and has a top speed of 68 miles per hour. This thing was pretty insane to ride. Let me just show you. So right off the bat, something that I really liked about this scooter was how easy it was to switch from different modes for acceleration. So this thing does have gear 1, gear 2, and gear 3, but it also has an eco turbo and a dual motor mode. So for example, if you want a much more relaxed acceleration and you're worried about being more safe at first, it does have that feature that you can quickly switch on. But then again, if you get into a pinch where there's a car behind you and you don't want to switch 1, 2, 3 to get to gear 3, you can hit that single dual button and get a lot more power really quickly. Now with this being a really fast electric scooter, I did do a speed test to see how fast I can get it, and let me just tell you right away, even though this thing says 68 miles per hour, you are not going to want to do 68 miles per hour. In short, the reason for that is the speed wobble you get. So for this speed run, I put it on the highest settings possible, which would be gear 3, and with the dual motors turned on, and the acceleration was really impressive. I took off right away, but what kind of got me really worried was once you get up to 70 kilometers an hour, even on a flat road without much wind, you get some pretty scary speed wobbles. And for something that goes this fast, I would expect maybe a steering dampener or something like that to help, but without any sort of steering dampener, I just can't see how this scooter would be safe to ride up to 60 miles per hour or even 50 plus miles per hour. Top speed aside, the scooter does have a lot going for it in terms of commuting. I know there's a lot of roads out there where if you're not going at least 30 miles per hour, the cars around you tend to zoom past and kind of push you in a scary situation, but knowing that you can comfortably do 30-ish miles an hour, even 40, really changes the game when it comes to keeping up with traffic. To show you the difference in acceleration between single motor and dual motor, here's single motor accelerating all the way as fast as I can. Not too crazy, but very manageable. In certain neighborhoods or in certain situations, definitely prefer this way over the dual motor. And here's the dual motor now. As you can see, it pulls way harder, which is a lot of fun, but in certain situations, I would not prefer this. I find it way more manageable to be using the single motor. And for context, I was using gear 3 for this entire section. One thing to note is that despite this e-scooter having a really bulky visual profile, the visibility is pretty low and cars seem to have a very difficult time seeing you. On the plus side, the RoadHitter is very maneuverable for being such a big scooter, and going through traffic with this is actually very easy, slipping in through small places where I feel like even with a bicycle or electric bicycle would be a lot harder to do. When it comes to climbing ability, I believe the ZonDoo RoadHitter does a pretty good job. Here we have a really steep and long hill, and I did not notice any power loss. Here I was in dual mode, and I was seeing myself going faster than I needed to. Overall, I found it to be a breeze when climbing up hills with this scooter. When testing it up against this very steep ramp here, I found this to be a breeze. I was using dual motor, but I believe this thing would be able to climb up pretty easily even in single motor. Even with uneven terrain here, it was pretty easy. Another plus side for commuting would be the insane range on this scooter. The 72 volt 43 amp hour battery on this thing got me pretty far without having range anxiety. A full battery on this would have to be 5 bars, and I started off with somewhere between 4 and 5, and I was able to do a total of 40 kilometers of hard riding with fast acceleration, and by the end of the ride I still had 3 full bars of battery left. Even though there aren't many trips where one might need to max out the range of this scooter on a single trip, it is pretty nice to know that if you plan on using the scooter for multiple long trips in one day, then you could easily get away with only charging it once at night and not having to worry about it for the entire day, or even a few days depending on how much you're riding. And considering a full charge will take 6 to 8 hours, not having to charge it that often is a really big plus in my opinion. For charging, ZonDoo included 2 separate chargers that are exactly the same. They do come with these adapters for European style outlets to American. And another cool thing is that they included this toolkit
which is super useful to have, and this can be put into the case that it comes with to attach to your scooter. So if you're on the go and you need to adjust anything, or to carry your phone or whatever you don't want flying out of your pockets, this is definitely a plus.
One thing I wanted to note about this scooter is that although the horn is a lot better than I've seen on other electric vehicles, for going in traffic and for going on avenues and boulevards and all that, I think it could be a lot better. This is what it sounds like. Now, I think it sounds decently loud for anywhere on a path or anything like that, but if you're dealing on an avenue and thinking about commuting, I would like to see something a little bit louder for an electric scooter. So one other thing I wanted to note about this is that it is pretty heavy, and if you're thinking about carrying this up and down stairs or carrying this up maybe like a 3-story walk up to your apartment, it would be very difficult. Now, it does have a handlebar here in order to pick it up. It can be done, if you need to bring this out of your car, if you need to, bring this up once or twice, but if you're thinking about doing this, every day, being that part of your commute where you pick it up and bring it somewhere, it would be very difficult.
One really fun aspect about the RoadHitter is the absolute light show that it turns into at night. The RGB lights come from almost everywhere and can even be changed with a remote. During the day, the RoadHitter has a pretty hard time being seen by cars, but at night, with all these lights, I am sure that is not an issue anymore, especially with the 3 headlights it has in the front. As for aesthetics, the sequential taillights at the rear look really nice at night. As for handling, the RoadHitter did surprisingly well with bumps, even at speeds of 45 to 55 kilometers per hour, and the turning was surprisingly good for such rugged tires. Going on curvy roads with this can definitely be a lot of fun, and knowing you have plenty of range to get back even if you live out in country roads is such a plus.
It does have like this really cushy seat with like some springs in it, which at first I feel like feels really mushy, but once you hit like some really hard bumps, it's definitely a good thing to have. You'll definitely feel grateful for that little extra mushiness there.
So for a vehicle that goes this fast, it was super nice to see that they included some pretty serious headlights for visibility and some really cool turn signals. Considering the scooter's on the heavier side, weighing in at 68 to 75 kilograms, they did include a really beefy kickstand. For tires, this thing runs 13-inch pneumatic all-terrain tires. So for suspension, we're looking at coil oil adjustable dampening hydraulic shock absorbers, which can be adjusted pretty easily with a knob and without having to use any tools other than your hands. To give you an idea of what the overall suspension is like when you adjust the rear suspension, here it is at the stiffest setting. And as you can see here in a little bit, it does have a lot of bounce to it still, but this is not as much as the softest setting, which would be this. And as you can see, it does give a lot of bounce to it. The scooter also comes with some pretty beefy front suspension. And of course, this is going to be in addition to the 2 springs underneath the seat. For braking, the RoadHitter comes with Zoom oil hydraulic brakes in the back and in the front. For the left side controls here, we have a key switch followed by a regular thumb operated on switch and directionals and horn. On the right side here, you'll be able to access switches to turn on Eco or Turbo mode, as well as a display that will allow you to toggle through gear 1, 2, and 3. The scooter came with a shipping weight of 195 pounds and installation was fairly simple. We found that most of the parts here were already attached together with only very simple things needed to be attached, such as turn signals, handlebars, but this thing all in all did not take too long to assemble. Most of it was just taking it out of the package. The scooter came with an optional seat that's fairly simple to attach and detach if you have the right tool. One thing to note is that with this thing going so fast, you do want to make sure that all the nuts and bolts are securely fastened, or you might find yourself losing some parts on the way. All in all, the ZonDoo RoadHitter was a blast to ride, and if your thing is speed, this one's definitely worth taking a look at. Thank you so much for watching to the end. We hope you enjoyed, and if you did, consider giving us a like and subscribe.